MMOs and your crazy builds that people come up with. And I'm really not surprised that New World is not any different. People have been running around trying to figure out what is going to be the ultimate meta builds in New World, and there's been a couple that have shown up to be very, very strong. But how do you get ahead of the meta and create your own build? Well, let's go over the concepts that you're going to need to know. Number 1, your attributes and how to allot them. This is going to be the most complicated part of the video, so bear with me here. There's a couple different splits you can do, and what I would recommend doing is either doing a 50-50 split, a 2-1 split, or a 3-1 split. You could go for a 2-1-1 split, but we'll get into that. First off is the Bruiser 50-50 split. This is mainly used for the Great Axe Hatchet build, where you go 50% into Strength, 50% into Constitution. This makes you very tanky, deal a lot of damage, and with the healing from the Berserker from the Hatchet, it's very strong. But you can do it with other weapons as well. Say like you want to go more of a DPS style sword and board build. I don't know why you would want to do that. That's currently what I'm running right now, just for context. But you can use it with other weapons as well. Just remember, you want to go 50% into your damage, 50% into health, Constitution. The next thing we're going to look at is a 2-1 split, which is much more common. This is going to be used by mostly ranged DPS, healers, all that kind of stuff. And what it is 2 points into your main attribute focus and then 1 point into your health, because much like life, health is very important. Drink your water. Quick examples: if you want to use a fire staff, putting 2 points into intelligence, 1 point into constitution. Now, if you want to be very extreme about this, you can go with a 3-1 split. Same thing, but for every 3 points that you put into your main damage source, put 1 point into constitution. This is the equivalent of just doing a skill dump. So just fully focusing on dexterity and then just getting your constitution up to 50. That's all it is. And last but not least, that I have seen some people recommending, which is a 2-1-1 split if you want to use 2 different weapons from 2 different skill trees. This one's a little bit controversial, because if you want to use 2 different weapons from completely different trees that do not share any similarities, I would recommend using gems to accomplish this. Now, for those of you that are unaware, you can put gems into your weapons that allow them to scale with different attributes than what they would normally, at diminishing returns, obviously. And what this allows you to do is to come up with some very creative builds. So a lot of the times with those paladin builds that people are doing, they're putting a gem on their sword and board that allows them to scale with focus. Or people that are, say, running fire staff sword and board, they're putting, again, a gem on their sword that allows it to scale with intelligence instead of strength, because they're dumping all of their points into intelligence. It's a very cool strategy. You can do a lot of really creative stuff with this, but this is more a niche case-by-case thing. So again, if you're looking to come up with a build in New World, just remember 50-50, 2-1, more extreme, 3-1, or look for a gem that'll make your build work. Number 2, let's take a look at that armor you're wearing there, bud. Now, there are 3 different armor types, and it's filled up by this little bar up on the left-hand corner of your screen on your menu screen. The main difference between these 3 equip loads is your roll speed and the type of roll that you have. Light armor has this Witcher dodge, medium armor has this kind of shuffle, and then heavy armor is just kind of this sidestep. It's so bad. With light armor, you get damage bump, but you also lose a lot of resistances. Medium armor is the kind of middle ground where you get decent resistances, but you still also deal decent damage. And then heavy armor, you have increased stamina, and then also have the heaviest amount of resistances with it, obviously. A lot of people that are doing just pure DPS builds are like, all right, cool, light armor, let's go. I would warn them, caution though. If you are a PvP player and you are wearing light armor, you will lose 90% of your duels unless you are just straight up better than the other person or way higher level. The problem with light armor is your resistances are just so low and the damage amp is so low. It's worth it in certain circumstances and certain builds. It's hard to recommend though. It's a super fun playstyle, and if you like the role and you like the mobility, go for it. I think medium armor is going to be what a lot of DPS people settle on, because you're still getting the tanky resistances of heavy armor, but you don't die in 2 hits. Heavy armor is going to be pretty much exclusively used by either healers or by pure tanks. I can't see anybody else using heavy armor just because it feels so clunky and bad. That's just kind of a brief overview of armor. I know I'm leaving a lot of stuff out, but for the sake of brevity of this video, I'm trying to keep it simple. Number 3, what weapon do you use and what do you pair it with? This is probably the reason why you clicked on this video, and I apologize for saving it last, but honestly, the other 2 points were way more important. Because what weapon choice you go with and what you pair it with is ultimately up to you. I know that's a cop-out answer, but really the sky's the limit of how creative that you can get with your build inside of this game. If you want a couple of guidelines, I can give you some guidelines. First guideline that I would look at to see is if your weapon pairing of choice scales with the same attribute. If it does, awesome. That's one of the reasons why the Great Axe hatchet build is so strong. They both scale very well with strength. You could also do, say, sword and board spear, right? So your sword and board scales primarily with strength, your spear scales secondarily with strength. That would also work. But then we start to get into the weird stuff, like the crazy stuff. This is the stuff that I live for. You could do something like, say, a full tank battle mage build where you go fire staff and sword and board, and you dump all of your points into intelligence and constitution, doing a 2-1 split. So you charge in with sword and board, you do a bunch of damage with your intelligence gem on your sword, and then you swap to fire staff and you just drop hellfire on everything around you. Then you swap back to sword and board to tank everything up. I really like this build idea. I might try this out now. I got really wrapped up in talking about builds. I get a little bit too excited about this kind of stuff. So I'm going to rewind here and I'm going to talk about the second guideline that you should look for. And it's either looking to shore up your weaknesses with your build or to do one thing really, really well. What do I mean by this? Well, let's say you want to play the musket, right? Super cool weapon, really good at long range. Sucks when anybody closes the distance, right? Well, it's a dexterity weapon. So what can you pair it with? Well, what about a rapier? Rapier is really good at close range, has a lot of mobility to kite people out with, and it has very short range. Pair that with the musket, bada bing, bada boom, you got long range, you got short range. Or you could just look to do one thing really, really well. An example, sword and board plus great axe. You stun the target, you walk around behind them and do like an 800 damage backstab bonus with the great axe. It's stupid, it's funny. Look to do one thing really well, or look to be a jack of all trades. That's kind of what you're looking for. Or you could just do another thing really bizarre and weird, like we talked about with the tank plus fire staff build that I'm actually really excited to try now because that sounds super awesome. I'm just really excited to see what the community is going to come up with for New World. I think this game has a lot of potential with just random off-meta builds, and that gets me so excited. And if you guys have any builds that you want me to try out, make sure to leave a comment with that build idea. And who knows, if I like it, maybe I'll try it out on stream. I have a full channel dedicated just to live streaming now, so you can check it out. The link will be down there, and I'll link it somewhere. Over here. Boop. I'll put it right there. You can check out that channel, check out the live stream, drop by, ask some questions, ask to see a different build, chat with me about life, all that kind of lovely stuff. And until next time, take care, guys.